can tell our friends, and they can have my things when we're dead. But we gonna live forever. We gonna live forever.
3, 2, 1. We are back.
We are back.
The
Turn
boys.
that air conditioning off.
Turn
Man,
the
I
AC
was
off,
a fucking dude. It's crazy that
A
people call
pig.
you sweaty too, because I'm like, I didn't even realize
You're a sweat pig.
what was going on with my hair.
You look like you got a fucking apple in your mouth.
Dude, I literally looked like you did that prank last week where you put like a bucket of water above the door.
You keep dropping it on you, and you're trying to shampoo your hair, and I keep just dropping more shampoo
like that's
in it.
basically what I look like. I looked insane.
You're a sweaty
last
pig.
week.
He's here. He's queer, especially when he drinks some beers.
Speaking of queer, Ryan's making me, as per New York rules, I have to show my vaccine card to do the podcast.
I told Daniel, this is a place of business. I'm not going to let you bring your piggy COVID vaccine business. So so what? I have a guy at the door. It's only Danny coming in. And I go,
goes,
show me the
"Vax
papers,
card."
buddy.
Come on.
And then he shows me.
You know I'm good for
He shows me his
it.
membership to Empty Closet and Zippers. I go, not that membership.
You know I'm good for it.
Not that-
Come on.
Come on, baby.
That's what, because we have our one buddy, Kevin.
Yeah, the
Soldo.
needle's still hanging out of his arm when he showed up.
Yeah, who's like refuses to do any of the stuff. And like, because they really, they were threatening in New York. They go, look, like, you got to get your vaccine card. And then they were like, okay, you're literally cannot go into anything now.
I know.
Like overnight, they're just like,
Most
not
places aren't doing it, but I actually wanted to talk about
I think
Australia
a lot of
little
places
later.
are.
Before that, if you're going to send articles, some people ask, send it to the Boyscast with Ryan Long at gmail.com. That's the place to send articles if he wants to try to have us cover stuff or questions or whatever. And then even before that, our friend opened up a baseball card store in Larchmont, New York, Corinne Fisher. Perfectly centered store. She threw away her career as a successful
podcaster to get into the world of baseball cards.
And Daniel Polishchuk, this is what you guys don't know. He's the janitor. What do they have you
Dude, I'm
doing
literally
there?
just like,
He's gonna be an intern.
My whole thing is I just want to get my foot in the door, so I'll just do it. I'm a gopher. You need
Comedian
coffee.
John Campanelli's working there. They got all these comedians working at the store. Danny's gonna be scrubbing the butts of
Dude, if I'm lucky,
the
they'll let me scrub the
unvaccinated.
toilets.
But what I got was a Steven Seagal action figure, James Dean action figure, and Stone Cold. So I cleaned them out of all their
Stone
cool
Cold's
shit.
Finger? Did you do that to his finger?
No, he probably hurt his finger when he was crushing the top of beer cans to open them up with just his two fingers.
Dude, crushing all those beers is no joke. Look what happened to his finger.
Yeah, but when I got all hyped up on the action figures when I was there, right? I literally cleaned them out. I go bring everything out, and then there was a few wrestlers that I was gonna buy, but they looked some of these figures that looks nothing like the person.
Yeah, nothing at all.
You can't even tell, right? So
did you do the thing where you get in the bathtub and you bring them in with you and you make them kiss?
no, because
Did you make Steven Seagal and Stone Cold kiss? You go.
I don't want to get his clothes all wet. He'd look like you. We already have one sweat pig in the fucking studio.
I literally Ubered here today, by the way, specifically because I go, I can't just.
I'd be afraid to. I'd be afraid to have Steven Seagal kicking around while I'm sleeping, dude.
Oh,
you
he
say
wakes-
the wrong thing and you're sleeping, you go, Jean-Claude Van Damme's actually better. You wake up, you're in a fucking headlock from an action figure.
Yeah.
That's when he comes to life.
The shittiest horror movie of all time.
But Nick Cage, I watched this movie. So Nick Cage is top 5 cornballs, right? But I love his movies. And he's in this movie called Between Worlds. He's in the era where he's just cranking out garbage, right?
Yeah.
So the premise of this movie, and I'm just going to go through this super quick before we get into real shit. But the premise of this movie is he meets a girl at a gas station, and her daughter was just in a car accident. And this woman has figured out that if you strangle her and she dies, she can speak to dead people that are in comas and people whose spirits left their body. But it's not supposed
But
to be.
she's dead forever?
No, she's not dead. Once she can come back to life, she goes,
Oh, God.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
she makes everyone, she goes to everyone. She goes, you have to strangle me so I can talk to dead people, basically. And then, so what happens is her daughter's in a coma, and then Nick Cage starts fucking her. And then Nick Cage is giving it to her, by the way.
Yeah, he's just smashing
And then Nick Cage's wife, who also died, comes back to life in the body of this woman's daughter. So Nick Cage is
Like
banging
a Freaky Friday
but it's
scenario.
not a comedy. It's a thriller. It's a thriller. So Nick Cage is banging the mom. 90% of this movie is sex scenes, by the way. So Nick Cage is banging. He's not in good shape, which I would assume when they started the movie, they were like, because he's an executive producer. He's a writer. He's like very involved in the productions of these movies now.
Yeah.
Because I even did some research after looking up certain scenes, and he goes, yeah, when I made that choice, so either he's taking credit for everyone else's things, or he's like, yeah,
I mean, it'd be weird to take credit for a total piece of shit.
He's
though.
loving it. He thinks he thinks he's like changing paradigms of movies, right? And they have like weird music motifs, but so he's banging the mom and he's like, imagine how you bang, yeah. Very fast. And it's Nick Cage,
like
right?
A real fucking like Neanderthal bang.
He's tuning her up. Then the daughter comes. He starts tuning the daughter up. She's super hot.
Fucks the daughter too.
He's fucking he's fucking both of them because the daughter's his wife, right?
I got it.
His wife in the daughter's body.
So that's pretty sick. Nice little upgrade.
Nice upgrade, yeah. And then on top of that, while he's fucking the daughter, she goes, I need you to read that book to me. So he can only get into it if he's reading a book, and she likes him when he reads this book, and he reads a book that says Memories by Nick Cage. So, and then that's when I looked that up and I go, this is
weird.
He says, he goes, always I just like to break the fourth wall, and I thought it added comedy to the situation as well as
So you watch this piece of shit and then you go, I got to research this piece of shit afterwards?
I researched the book to see if Nick Cage actually had written a book called Memories.
Oh, okay.
And it was a real thing, or they go, no, we made a fake book.
By Nick Cage.
But this is it's not a comedy.
Yeah, I know.
It's a thriller. And halfway through, Nick Cage is like, we got to play with the audience minds in this movie where I'm banging a woman, and then I'm also banging your daughter, who was my ex-wife. Her spirit's in her body. And he was like, we just needed to do something a little extra. So he reads a book by the actor playing this character. It's nuts.
That sounds
The
like
sex
a total
scene,
piece of shit.
I think when he started doing this movie, there was no sex scenes in it. And then he goes
yeah,
made some changes. Pages 9 through 85.
I guess if you're the fucking producer. I mean, the real moral of the story is try and be good with money and sign a prenup, because this is like the classic actor who's just digging himself out of a financial hole. It's like the James Caan thing with fucking the Frank D'Angelo movies. Like, because everybody's like, how would he get 2-time Oscar winner James Caan in this piece of shit? People don't know this guy in Canada. Frank D'Angelo makes these like garbage movies, but he pays these guys in cash. And it was straight up like, these guys are fucked up for money.
I think you're right.
They're in these positions where they go.
He had all his castles and all that stuff.
Yeah, they blow all their money, and then they find themselves later in their career, and they're like, look, you're not getting these like whatever his Gone in 60 Seconds paydays anymore.
Do you know what Nick Cage is trying to do a little bit? He's trying to get ahead of the narrative. How Bill Murray's like, my life is kind of a troll. Mm-hmm. Nick Cage is sort of getting ahead of the narrative that everything he makes is a piece of garbage by being like, the joke's on you. This is all like...
Totally, yeah. He's like, this is actually a really well thought out piece of garbage.
Right. In his mind, he was like, got him exactly where we want him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They just watched this movie being like, this was garbage. And it was like, the plan's working. The legend of Nick Cage's troll.
But it's obvious that he just needs the money.
So obvious.
You're like, he's just fucking he made bad decisions, and now he's like, they go, here's $1 million, 6 weeks, make this piece of shit.
Piece of garbage. So two other things that happen in the movie, just to wrap it up, is he goes back to the woman's finding out, like, this is happening. She goes back to the hospital where it's like, when they have the person that just tells them everything that's going on. Uh-huh. She goes back. There's this nurse, I guess, and the nurse is like, what did you do? It's like, you must have switched her spirit into the other spirit, because like the nurse just...
This sounds Steven Seagal level of shitty, by the way.
It was worse. And then how he kills himself, he goes back with the daughter, and then he decides, I'm going to kill myself so I can be with my daughter, my wife and daughter also died. So his daughter's dead. And he goes, how he kills himself at the end of the movie, because he's drunk, and he goes, he pours a bucket of gasoline on his body, and then he lights a cigarette, and then lights himself on fire. But while he's burning, he's still smoking the cigarette. So he's just like, he's so calm. He's doing like a Dalai Lama, as if Dalai Lama, who's the guy who lit himself on fire? Was that?
That was some Buddhist, not
the
Dalai
Buddhist,
Lama.
right?
Yeah.
He's doing the Buddhist on fire, and he's smoking a cigarette while he's doing it. It's like,
what's so crazy too is because like, you and I obviously know how difficult it is to get a movie, like to be like, I'm going to pitch a movie and then like.
Not when you're Nick Cage.
But it's not Nick Cage. I'm looking at it. It's written by some chick, Maria fucking. It's written and directed by Maria Pulera, whose first movie.
I
was
know,
only
no. He's the executive producer.
Yeah,
He's the producer.
You think he just knows this chick and he's like, I'm gonna fucking get like.
No, he gets scripts sent to him by all sorts of people.
That's what I'm saying. More
and then
so
he
what
goes,
I'm
"This
saying-
would work if we put 95 sex scenes in
I know
it."
that. I'm saying is like you and I know how difficult it is to get an actual movie made.
Yeah.
And you're like, and then you just see these pieces of shit.
I loved it.
And you're like, literally, this woman's like, probably second crack in a movie, and she's like, I don't know, Nick Cage, right? I guess we're doing it. I don't know.
It's the worst movie I've ever seen, and almost worse with Nick Cage in it. If Nick Cage wasn't in it, because it would be a little better if it was such a piece of shit and this wacky premise. Where was Nick Cage? His acting so wacky too, and his bad his campy acting works okay in the like campy action movies, but when they're supposed to be like it's so funny.
Yeah, it's supposed to be real. And
anyways, I'm gonna give that 5 stars. I'm gonna give that 5 stars.
5 stars out of 5 stars.
Five Tim Allens.
5 Tim Allens out of 5.
Okay, so right before we get into all the good shit that's planned for this episode,
all that good.
I have so we're gonna answer a quick boys question. So we got a question. This is coming from out of the country allegedly, and they said, "Hey, so it's titled Asking for a Raise. I've been working with the same company for 20 years. Recently, the company started doing well, but I haven't received any compensation to add to that. Benefits are solid, and we also get days off to play at theme parks, and there's passes for the gym, which we all get. Okay. My wife has been nagging me to ask for a raise, so I've punished her for that. I'm not really sure what he means by that.
Her.
Yeah, but okay, he said, maybe that's a joke. And he said, it's not that I don't like my job at the Taliban. It's just, okay, so this guy
so he
works at the Taliban.
He works at Taliban.
So he works at Taliban and he wants a raise. He said, and I've seen the video, so that's what he's talking about. He said they're go-karting, ice cream for the boys.
Sounds pretty fun, but yeah,
so I guess
issue's just with the wife?
Well, I think the issue is because he is having days off, and it sounds like it's a cushy job. They're mostly in the sun, and they're playing with go-karts. You've seen they get access to gyms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Off topic, I do recommend. I have seen some of those videos, and they're not the greatest at working out. So I would say recommend reading the Tim Ferriss 4-Hour Body.
4-Hour Body, or just getting a personal trainer.
Just get a personal trainer.
Yeah, I'm sure those are around.
20 years is a lot, especially in that line of work. I mean, we have the mafia here, so you are generally compensated
it sounds
for
like
doing
he's basically
horrible
been
things.
an intern for 20 years. Now that they're finally popping off, like it's the equivalent of like Facebook just went public,
Yeah. I think I'd probably need more information too. Like I would need to know the type of work you're doing. Like, is he low level or are you actually the one, committing the, atrocities and stuff like that?
Beheadings and stuff.
And if you are doing the beheadings, cutting arms off, I think that is something that you would be able to go to your boss now and say, listen, like, here's my body of work. I've been keeping track. Maybe one thing I will say is potentially take pictures of some of the work that you've done. So when he's saying, well, you do nothing around here, you can.
You go like, look at, I think before and after pictures would be good. Like, here's this town before.
Yeah.
And then after, and it's just like gone.
You want to let your boss know the role that you played in your thing. And this may be something with this person where they're not able to take credit. Like you have other people taking credit for the,
Yeah, I would say too is like if you're not like getting recognized for what you're doing, try and maybe go like above and beyond. Like in your free time, maybe get your wife and your daughters and stuff to like maybe knit some like Death to America sweaters or like. Just that you could pass around to the boys. Be like, look, I'm contributing here.
Let them know that you're sort of an overachiever. And
yeah, exactly. Hey, I got us some cool like camo Death to America headbands.
That is one of those things where it's not always about doing what was asked of you. You also want to provide things that they didn't have to ask.
Exactly.
For,
they go, yo.
You want to provide value for yourself.
Like imagine all of a sudden the fucking head of the Taliban's like wearing your Death to America swag, and you're like, this is sick. It's like,
that's true. Yeah.
And he goes, where'd we get these from? I go. Funny enough, you ask. One of our guys kind of just took it upon himself. We didn't have to ask.
You sort of get your name out there. You let people know that you're important. He says they do provide me with a lot of free pussy. So
that's okay.
Again, I want to say that nothing is free, so there probably actually is a cost to that. So if you're saying that you're giving all these extra benefits, whether that be ice cream, whether that be time at the gym during work hours,
these are perks.
They are perks, but they are, this is something you are being offered as a replacement for salary. So you don't want to get away from, and again, you have that wife situation, which just sounds like you've been handling in your own way. But it's a touchy subject, If you shoot high with the type of people that he's dealing with, you might end up in some hot water as well, right?
Oh yeah, they do not. If my guess is the heads of the Taliban don't really take well to like insubordination.
Yeah, so you do. You have to definitely. I would be delicate with this issue, and what I would say is, if you've read a little something called the Communist Manifesto, so there's a little something, and we do this a lot here. There's something called unions. And it's a collective bargaining situation. So if you take a first-year political science class at maybe the local, I don't know if Taliban has their own university.
They have like some sort of learning annex.
Learning annex.
Like
so
the Kabul learning annex.
Right. So what you want to do is maybe some of the other Taliban guys, you get those together and you can turn the Taliban into like a working co-op.
Yep.
So in the past, normally it doesn't work. So again, this is an out-of-the-box solution. But if you are able to get the other members of the Taliban together and you are able to approach sort of the head of the Taliban and say, hey, what if we turn this into a workers co-op where we all own sort of part of the organization?
Not a bad idea. It might be tough just due to the tribal nature of the people from that region, but
yeah, exactly.
It
But
might be hard organizing. But
this is something after reading, after you take that first class, you might, that might get the juices flowing. I know a lot of people are trying this in America, and
they kind of did seize the means of production in the sense that they just took all the U.S.'s fucking weapons.
So they're sort of halfway there.
They're halfway there, yeah.
And I would also recommend maybe, and this may be more of a Western thing, but if you could put your boss on blast on Twitter, that is always a good technique to sort of get public support for the goal that you're trying to accomplish.
Plus, the Taliban's on Twitter, so it's like you don't even have to worry about getting banned. And
right.
Yeah, you're not going to get banned, so just go on Twitter and just fucking put him on blast. Maybe
put him on blast.
Maybe he said say, hey,
I haven't got a raise in this much.
And just heads up, the head of the Taliban's not sexist.
Yeah, exactly.
Just really put him on blast, being like, this guy's like, you
let people know that he likes
sexist.
Women. Yeah,
you're like, he actually respects women.
Yeah, and you sort of get that out there where you say, listen, he's been letting his wife drive and this and that.
Yeah, I saw her without her face cover on. Like, just all the stuff where you go, what? We got to cancel this guy.
Yeah, we have to cancel this guy. At the end of the day, you need to know your worth. Don't shortchange yourself. And so, again, I appreciate the questions that came into the Boyscast with Ryan Long at gmail.com. Yeah. And we're always happy to help a fellow boy.
And just, thanks, Abdul.
Yeah, what's up, Abdul? My favorite... my favorite thing with, and we'll go through the Afghanistan stuff a little bit, but the whole thing reminds me of, because, 20-year war, nothing accomplished. And then the day that, they start pulling out, like the Taliban takes over in 10 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows what's happening. And this happened, a few days ago. So we're not even the first people to comment on it. We don't really have the scoop. But my point is, it really reminds me of a guy who's like, has like a really good job and he's rich and he's got a girl out of his league. And he goes, no, she like loves me. And she's like, no, I love this guy. We're together, blah, blah, blah. And your people are like, she just loves you for your money. You're like, dude, she doesn't love me for my money. She's like my fucking soulmate. And then the minute you get fired from your job, she breaks up with the next
she's
guy.
Gone like instantly.
All of the war hawk associations of America, they're all like, we're out there. This is worth every penny.
Yeah.
If anything, we are making more progress. Your 20's the charm. Just a few more lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're also, this is going to be the blueprint for some places that we can drone strike in other countries. You're going to see our work here.
Yeah, she goes, I'm telling you, just stick with me. He goes, nah.
And the minute there was even the slightest bit of, pulling out, they're just like, well, we'll take it from here.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to go join the Taliban.
Yeah. Do you think that that must be a bummer for like the real like war hawk Republican and fucking neo, like all the like we love war people that the
we love war people, but it's weird because there's a lot of I don't know. It seems like it probably was the good thing to do, but it's easy to attack because there's like this whole sunk cost fallacy involved where everybody's like, oh, how could you just like you put in 20 years, how could you leave now? And then.
Well, it just doesn't. Optically, it doesn't look good. But
it would have never looked good.
It would have never looked good.
Like the alternative, from what I've and from what I've like been reading into it, it's like the alternative was they were like, okay, well then we have to start literally putting more troops and bombing the Taliban.
What, this is the thing. It's like
they had like a.
Could this have been done better? Yes, and you can argue about that till the whatever. And like,
it doesn't sound like it though.
Well,
to be honest, like from what I've like, the only alternative, they had a deal that they had to leave, and then the only alternative was they would be like, okay, we're not leaving. I wish the Taliban would be like, all right, back to fighting.
Okay, so no, I'm not saying not leaving, but you could have had a scenario where that deal. Okay, this is the situation, kind of. It's like they basically were still going on the thing, like once we leave, the Afghan army is going to be in charge.
Well, that was the point.
But that was not ever going to happen.
No,
so
because
that was a lie.
They were, they gave them 80 billion,
and maybe that's what you have to tell the American people. Like maybe that's what you have to.
Dude, they
put out
folded in fucking 3 days,
which is why that was always going to happen.
Yeah, that was always going to happen.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So once you know that. It's like you could have essentially, I mean, you signed up all these Afghanistan people to be on the side, knowing that the minute America's gone, like those people are getting their heads chopped off.
Not even that, but they were just like, yeah, we're going to take this check for fucking the next 20 years from the U.S. government to be like pretend soldiers.
And there's so much corruption on even
that. Yeah, but they're like literally just like,
pretend soldiers.
They are. They're just like
Did you ever see them working out? Like when they were trying to teach them to do jumping jacks?
Totally. But then and they were like, yeah, the moment you guys leave, we are going to fucking spring into action. Just make sure you train us well. And then for straight up, 20 years,
but my
they were
point
just getting
is,
ready for this day. And
since everybody knew that, the idea was like the plan was for, when we leave and these guys take it back over, it's like that wasn't going to happen. Everyone knew the Taliban was going to take over. So if that deal was structured in a way that for starters, American troops could get out there and whatever, I'm not like, deep into this stuff enough to be like, hey, what's the best exit strategy? But I don't think that there's the idea that there's like some criticism there. It's like, whatever. That's such a different subject to all the people that their argument is like, yeah. Well, this means we should still be there, be in more war forever.
Well, there's so many like of those generals who are like, just give us another 6 months. And you're like, that is not going to do anything. You've had 20 years. What's another 6 months?
Oh, another 6 months.
They don't want your fucking Western.
Another 6 months will give them. I mean, how much do you hear about Palestine and that whole conflict from the media? Like the news cycle moves so quick. You won't hear about this in a month. But more importantly, it's like if they could do that, be like, no. See, look, this is bad. We could get back in there, which is what a lot of people would want.
For sure.
That's like almost the conspiratorial angle.
Yeah, but I was saying to you yesterday, but I was like, I obviously didn't realize this, but like in 20 years, so there's a whole thing where they couldn't get people to go. We can't guarantee you safe passage to the airport. They're like, or all that stuff. And everybody's like, can't even. So the U.S. embassy and the airport are 2 miles away. And there's literally a straight line road that connects them. That was like, the U.S. embassy set up, 20 years ago. And in 20 years, they haven't secured that 2-mile road so that you can drive from point A to point B without getting blown up.
Well, yeah.
In 20 years, they've had 20 years, they have not been able, you have to take a helicopter from the embassy to the airport. They're like, it's unsafe to drive for 20 years. And you're like, okay, so you didn't do the most basic thing for 20 years. You're like, obviously this whole thing fell apart. Like,
yeah, it's difficult to go into like a
I couldn't believe when I heard that.
And then build a government and an army and just like start from scratch essentially it's just like doesn't work that way. And it is
also nobody wants it.
So,
I mean, maybe the girls do.
No, I see what you're saying, but
yeah,
when you go, the girls want, it's like that is the classic where it's, every time people want to like go to war and do all that shit, all of a sudden they're like, they're treating these people bad. It's like, okay, well, that's happening in 10 gazillion other countries.
Of course.
You're like, yes, it is not looking good at the moment when you're like, right now, because of this direct action, you're going to watch a lot of people have a lot of bad things done to them.
Yeah.
And that turmoil is not going to be
good. But also, Western feminism has taught me that they actually like all this stuff. All the women there, they like, like wearing all
That's
that
true.
Stuff.
Yeah. They said
if anything, the level of empowerment's gone up in Afghanistan, not down. If anything, they're more empowered than they were a week ago.
Yeah, you were saying the thing, the Taliban and wokes were agreeing on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they are kind of. They're like, they all love fucking tearing down statues. They both hate America. I was trying to pitch Ryan. I was like, we should do a wokes and Taliban.
Well, the only thing is with that one, the only difference is the Taliban doesn't want more war. Where a lot of woke people like, it's like the classic path to hell with good intentions. Dude, there's a lot of people being like, yeah, the America needs to be back in there for this war now. Dude, it's turned social justice warriors into fucking John Bolton.
Basically. The whole thing is really crazy too. Cause then, the Taliban for the first, dude, remember all the old school Taliban videos? Literally in a cave sitting on a mattress with a fucking DVR video or whatever those mini DV video cameras. And they're like, So, and now they're like, yeah, we're doing press conferences. They're like calling out Facebook.
They're on the come up.
They're like legit like calling out Facebook. They're like, yeah, they're like, we're like, you know, if you have issues with free speech, ask Facebook. And then but the thing is, again, they're like, okay, yeah, we're not going to retaliate against anybody. Like they said that, they go, we're not going to retaliate against anybody who is like, you know, plotting against us and like who are our adversaries for the last 20 years, and we're gonna like respect women and all that. And you're like, okay, like sure. Like everybody's like, okay, sure you will. The thing where they go,
big wink.
Yeah, they go, we're not gonna retaliate.
Well,
So
they said they're gonna
literally
respect women
within the confines.
Sharia law.
So we're not wink wink. No, but the idea that they go, we're all the people who were Afghanis who fought against us for the last 20 years, we're just going to forget about that. We're going to let bygones be bygones. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. No, it is.
Like it's funny because they're coming out and people are like, Taliban's pretty reasonable.
I'll tell you what, the conspiracy angle on my thing, even a little bit, you're just like, with like the government actually pulling stuff out, you're just like, is this master plan so they can be like, look how much of a mess it is, we need to go back? Like
I don't think so.
I know I don't either,
honestly,
but like I'm almost like in shock a little bit where I go, not that often that they actually do the opposite of what Raytheon wants them to.
No, honestly, like from what everything I'm reading and like,
because no one wants
Biden,
no one wants all these
that was
wars.
actually a pretty tough move because Biden just straight up said like, yeah, this was a mess. Like my, you know, buck stops here.
Everyone's
like, you know, like,
I don't think
blame
it's
me.
unpopular as they think, though. I think that
No.
it's one of those things where they lie. It's like the same as the free speech stuff and all that stuff where they go, oh, everyone thinks this. And you go, no, they don't. Like, not everyone in America thinks you should be fucking pouring trillions of dollars and having all these soldiers die so you can.
Also, it's like and like the alternative was they go, okay, if we're going to do this another 6 months, we'll get a cleaner exit. You go, okay, there will be U.S. casualties. Like, are you okay with like, you know, having a smoother pullout where it's
Of course they are.
Where
They
it's
want
like-
one last little contract.
Yeah.
Dude, do you know
One
what-
last
Dude, if you're Raytheon, one last contract.
Bam.
If you're like these defense contractors, the amount of time, you know what it's like to get a new client.
Oh,
you gotta
hell yeah.
take them to the rippers. You gotta wine and dine it, maybe a little white in the bathroom.
Yeah, a little bit.
Now what? Now and then these other guys you can't even sell to the Taliban because
you can't really take
they're
them
on
off
the
a
no
drink.
sell list and they already got all your old weapons.
Yeah, that's
and you
true.
can't sell new weapons to the new people because they don't want them anymore.
You know what's
you're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
You know what is a really weird element of this all too is like if you go on TikTok, like in the odd thing that comes up on TikTok and it's just like some Taliban fighter who just captured like a fucking Black Hawk helicopter and they're kind of just like showing the Black Hawk.
God.
And you're like, it's weird. They're like, hey, check this. They're like literally doing like a tour of a Black Hawk helicopter that they
That's
just like are in
wild.
possession of. And it's getting in the algorithm because I guess like there's no reason really to flag it.
Yeah, he's just saying, here's my helicopter.
He goes, here's this helicopter we seized from the U.S.
Well, that is the thing
cowards.
with all those. Yeah, I mean, that's the Trump was banned, but the Taliban's not. But there, I mean, there is this other element where it's like, I mean, it is fucking. A lot of people like the same guy that said, "Oh, talk to Facebook about free speech."
Mm-hmm.
It is true. It's like, what's been your experience here in the last 5 years? Has it been like the government's all about freedom?
No.
It's like literally, if you go out and be like, I'm on freedom, it's like they call you racist.
Yep.
So this idea where we're spreading freedom, it's like, so we're racist now, I guess. You know,
Well, they're saying they're spreading
everyone's
democracy,
fucking.
which is like, yeah, not everybody wants American democracy.
Everyone's locked in their house. Yeah, but everyone's like locked in their house. You're in trouble if you say a guy and a girl are the same.
Yeah.
Aren't the same thing.
I got to fucking show my
all
vaccine card
spi-
just to do a podcast.
Yeah, they're
now?
all
It's a nightmare.
They're all spying on their own fucking citizens. Which I think, by the way, if the government's spying on you, the very least they could do is like send you things like let you know, like, hey, just so you know, your girl's like onto you.
Yeah,
like they
yeah,
send
like-
dude shit. They go, hey buddy, I know. Remember how you said you're fucking going to work, but you're actually just hanging with the boys playing pool.
She knows. She knows. Red alert. Red alert. She knows.
Imagine you get like a beep from the NSA being like, dude. She's on your trail.
That'll be like-
she logged in your Facebook. She knows you and Chuck are fucking crushing it.
When the American government is really like fucked over and they really need money, there'll be like an NSA premium account you can sign up for that the NSA will literally just like send you. Like they'll be like, hey, we'll spy a little for you too.
Yeah, what do you need?
Yeah, what do you need?
Yeah, like you're trying to smash some chick and they'll do some spying, letting you know
Yeah.
where she's gonna be tonight.
Totally, you know, like all the stuff she's into. She's like, what her favorite shows are, so you can just like just casually.
They let
bring
you
it.
know.
She goes, you like that too? You go, yeah, of
The
course I
NSA
love
goes-
The Bachelor.
The NSA goes for the boys. So I would say some of the few funniest things about the people that were the funniest, I would say of all this whole this whole ending the war thing. Count Dankula probably was the funniest guy on Twitter.
Yeah, he's been.
Dude, it was if you don't follow him, he's super funny. He made his profile Count Dankula, Count Dankula Abdul Dankula or whatever, right? And then he changed his photo to him looking like a guy in the Taliban, and he's got a huge following and he's verified. So he's been commenting on like Biden will be like, oh, we did a good job out there, and he'll be like, you didn't do shit, we're taking over, the boys are in charge, whatever he says, right? And then everyone's yelling at him, being like, oh, actually, how about you go stone more of your women? And he's just been trolling everyone for a week straight, and he won't stop. It's ridiculous. He's quote tweeting everyone's things, being like, ha, we got your military stuff, like, praise the law. He lives in the UK.
Yeah.
He's
the dude who literally almost went to jail for the pug.
Yeah, exactly. I've been liking all the stuff where people go, I just want to, because all the stuff that they want to do here that's, not freedom oriented, when they're saying like, oh, we're going to go give our thing to Afghanistan, when a lot of people here don't even like it. It's that old thing where the people in, a lot of the people in Texas would agree with those guys a little more than they would.
I think so. You saw a lot of takes of like with the.
We have a buddy that's like
that.
Yeah,
buddy. That's the thing. Is like literally like. You've gone so far where you're like
he hates the West so much.
He hates
right now.
the West
He's like,
so
actually,
much.
those guys are sick.
Yeah, it's like he basically is fucking like likes the Taliban to own the libs.
Yeah,
I'm fucking joining the Taliban to own the libs. And you
he's
go,
bummed.
All right.
Well, he was even telling us, he's like, oh, well, China was saying the U.S. needs to leave Taiwan now. He's like, everyone wants some smoke. Everyone's sick of this nonsense. He wants to move to Russia. But when people were like, oh my God, this is so good. The Taliban is implementing gun control by taking the guns away from all the citizens.
Yeah, just like Australia. Basically, that's they're just the Australia playbook. It's just we're gonna just take your guns. And then the best is the Taliban goes. They go, yeah, we're taking your guns just because you're safe now, so you don't need them. Like that's literally their reason.
That's what everyone said.
I know, but no. In Australia was like they were like, no, we like people should fuck you. You shouldn't have guns, like because there was a big shooting. And Australia's like, there's a mass shooting. And then in Taliban, they're just like, no, you guys are safe now from the scary Americans. So we're just going to grab your guns. It's like the Lumberg. He goes, if you could just turn in your guns, that would be great.
That would be great. Michael Moore and a lot of people. I've been seeing a lot of the take where people come up and they go, actually, the fucking real Taliban is the people that stormed the Capitol.
I know. That was the best.
That is one of those things where I was like, as soon as all this stuff happened, it was like 3, 2, 1. And there we have it. Colbert went on. He was like, the Taliban. It's like, yeah, well, maybe we got our own Taliban. Everyone goes, ooh,
I know.
White people suck. White people suck. The guy, the storm the cap. Like in their mind, that's the same thing.
The same thing as fucking like these like bunch of LARPers who've. I mean, it is honestly to some people they're so fucked up that they really think that's like.
Oh, they're cooked.
Yeah.
It is. But Michael Moore, to me, I think he's probably the lamest guy in the history of the world. But this used to be my friend who was like he's a university professor, but he was like in philosophy. And the big joke was telling girls that he's like a huge Michael Moore head. Yeah. When we were in college, we used to tell girls like, oh, you don't get him started on Michael Moore. He loves Michael Moore. It would be one of those jokes where then the girl would be like, oh, your friends told me you like Michael Moore. And you go, you ever see that? You ever see that thing where people used to go, what my friends think I'm doing, what my parents think I'm doing, what I'm actually doing.
Yeah.
We used to make those. He goes, and we'd make the videos. He's like, what my teachers think they're doing, and it would be Karl Marx. And then it'd be like, what my parents think I'm doing, and it'd be working at Wendy's. And he goes, what I'm actually doing, and we put Michael Moore. we used to always kill him saying that we used to say Fahrenheit 9/11 is his Bible. Oh, fuck. But then Jimmy Fallon, he was on. He did something where he comes out and he goes, he was gonna make some joke. I don't know. I didn't hear the whole joke because it was cut after this. But he goes, for the first time in history, white people are on decline, right?
Yeah.
And then everyone cheers. Everyone goes, woo! And even he kind of looks at the camera like, oh, I wasn't expecting that to get a cheer. Like he was probably gonna be like, so I guess we're gonna be better at dancing. Like
totally. He was gonna do the most like fucking. Yeah,
I don't know.
Cookie cutter.
Yeah, he was gonna say some shit like that. Like, I guess our food's gonna get spicier, right? But instead, everyone cheered, like, "Kill the whites," and he was kind of like, "Oh, okay, interesting." I didn't realize how fucking wild it went.
We don't like the the whites on the Jimmy Fallon audience, huh?
Yeah. So I thought that was funny, the like spreading the freedom. I thought it's funny that you see some of the, even like the Daily Wire, like Ben Shapiro and like Matt Welsh, like fighting, like you see who's like pro-war and who's anti-war. Like it's really like splits people and who are the people that
the thing is, it's almost like the people are maybe not even so anti-war and they were just like they're against anything Biden does. Like everything Biden does is a gaffe. So then he removes it and they go, right. I guess we're pro-war. They're like, it's not even so much like they're against it because they probably are, but then the moment Biden, it's the exact opposite of the Trump thing. It's like, it goes, this guy did a thing, so I'm against.
They're going to be against it. It's optically, it's an easy one to kind of dunk on if you want to, but the alternative is more war. And then it's funny watching people like switch their positions so much. Like because at first they were sort of pushing the idea of like, we need to be back at war for feminism. You know what I mean? And that wasn't really sticking all that good. And then within, you very quickly saw people be like, well, maybe we should take more refugees. Like it was just like, you see people, they're just like, what position could I take that like makes me feel good? Yeah. Cause it basically this, it was like, they're like, what position can I take that Republicans won't like? Or even if they like it, I can say more. And like if Republicans are like, we should take some refugees, they're like, well, how many do you think? And they're like, probably 10,000. They're like, okay, got it. We need 50,000.
And then Republicans like, whoa, just so then make him go, whoa, there needs to be some limit.
And then they go, look at this big
animal, monster. Or there needs to be a limit on human lives.
Exactly, right? Because they realized they can't do like feminism good for war wasn't sticking. Yeah. So then they immediately had to shift into like, well, they probably don't even want to take as many refugees as I do.
So you don't love refugees?
We should chisel out the country, bring in like a novelty-sized helicopter, and then strap it up, and then bring the whole country and just put it into Miami. Yes. That's what they want.
No, not even Miami. They wanted to put it into like DC or somewhere in like the South.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. And we just drop it into Texas. Oh, I'm sorry.
And not Austin either. You're not getting it in Austin. It's going in somewhere fucking central Texas.
Okay. So quick break to talk about our beloved sponsor, Cuts Clothing. Whether you're hustling for a promotion, and I don't want to say that maybe Cuts Clothing won't want us to make this reference, but there was someone earlier in the episode that worked for a certain organization. So we couldn't say, even for him, we didn't give him this advice, but it is important to have good clothes if you're looking to move up in the workplace. Cuts Clothing keeps you feeling good and looking sharp. If you've seen, they have like the best Instagram ads. It is one of those companies where you see the guys, they have like, and especially because we do stuff with them, I get like a lot of them, and it'll always be a guy where you're just like, guy looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
I could probably fucking crushing it, dude. He probably has so much puss. To mark 5 years of creating clothing that can be dressed up or down, Cuts is having a month-long anniversary celebration, so make sure to check them out. 5 years ago, Cuts founder Steve Borelli set out to create clothes for every occasion the modern man faces. Since then, Cuts become the Tesla of t-shirts, hoodies, polos, sweatshirts, and more. So Cuts hoodies feature specially developed Hyperloop French terry fabric, a material that temperature controlled and ages. So they look pretty good. You don't want to look like a slob like Danny Polishuk or someone that's not going to get potentially a promotion at their job, whether that's the Taliban or not the Taliban. I haven't confirmed with the sponsor whether or not they do make clothes for that region of the world.
Specifically, yeah. Do they ship there?
I don't know if they ship there.
Do they ship to Kabul?
That's the thing. If this guy goes to his boss and he's like, listen, I've been doing so much good shit. You know what I mean? My wife's not speaking. And here's my... This month marks Cuts' 5th anniversary, and they're doing it big with 2 collection drops, a product launch, a week-long special event. Join the celebration to get 15% off site-wide by going to cutsclothing.com/theboyscast. That's cutsclothing.com/theboyscast for 15% off and access to anniversary events all month long. Okay, so one thing we should say is, one more thing that was funny was Pelosi. She goes, they posted a thing being like potential terror threats, these people. And it said opposition to COVID measures, claims of election fraud, 9/11 anniversary or religious holidays. And that's the 3rd one. So terror threats, if you're looking to be like, my buddy's getting radicalized. Yeah. If you see that maybe he read Plandemic, like that's number 1.
Yeah.
So there's other countries like Canada and Australia, they're going wild. But have you seen...
Australia's nowhere it's going crazier than Australia.
Justin Trudeau literally came out, and Jordan Peterson was flipping his lid over this one.
She session.
Yeah. What did he say exactly? He comes out and he goes, instead of we're in a recession, we're in a she session.
She session.
And we're hoping to have a healthy she covery.
She-covery and the she-economy.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
So Jordan Peterson posted.
I mean, he is the fucking. That's the thing. Is
Cock of the Millennium awarded.
Turdo is that's his thing. You know, he goes. I'm a feminist and all that.
But also, I mean, I agree, the she session, but to call it a she cover, that's a man cover. Dude, but
the boys are going to dig you out of this one.
It just made me laugh that Jordan Peterson, he comes out and he was like, this is a child for president. And then he quote tweeted his own quote tweet being like, can't even believe this guy. And then like a third time, he was like, it's fucking bullshit.
Jordan Peterson goes, it's fucking shit. Fuck
Dude,
that.
Jordan Peterson was fucking losing his fucking shit over this she session business. He had enough. This was Peterson's final straw. He just isn't getting out of this country. But one of the dudes who follows the Patreon, that he told me he's been giving me the Australia updates because he got a $5,000 fine. Right?
Oh, someone from the Patreon got a fine?
Yeah, dude.
For what?
For having a house party with like
for going
10
for a walk?
people. Yeah. So they just added new stuff to see the kind of nonsense that's going on in other countries, you know, and they go mobilizing 2,200 police officers dedicated to COVID compliance. The operation will utilize resources from all police districts and police area commands under Metropolitan and Regional Field Operations, alongside Traffic and Highway Patrol Command, and a dog and mounted unit, and a number of other specialized commands as required. So they have dogs that can sniff out if you've been listening to the pandemic.
Yeah. Like literally just like if people are outside. They're like,
they can sniff out if you have any reservations about vaccines. They can sniff out if you've been listening to a little too much. They can sniff out if you've got like a freedom mug in your house.
Yeah. Like your leftist tears mug. They smell that.
And they go, it's Operation Stay at Home, and it will be coordinated from the Police Operations Center. So their operation's called Operation Stay at Home, and they go, we'll be issuing $5,000 fines and closing any business in which will continue to breach the order. So they're going to go and straight up shut down the businesses. And the best part is in their press release, they goes, and we will not apologize for these increased enforcement efforts going forward. So in their thing, they're going, we're going to shut down everyone's business. And just so you know, mate, we're not even going to apologize after.
Oh, yeah. We're not just going to shut it down.
They're not apologizing. So funny that's in their press release.
They're fucking...
Just in case you thought we're apologizing.
They're fucking going crazy. I mean,
So you're not allowed to leave. They have dogs sniffing out if you've, broken COVID.
I mean, more
protocol.
importantly, we're like
They got
2
even
years
partying.
into this.
Did you have bitches over? The dogs can smell your fingers.
Yeah. The dogs are just like, you're just like standing still. The dog starts sniffing your fingers. You're like, just stay calm.
The dog,
put your hands in your pockets.
The dogs sniff your
They're
fingers.
like, keep your hands out of your pockets
to see if you had any fucking hoes over. And they said this is what they said in their release. They go, there will be nowhere to hide if you're doing something wrong. If you travel anywhere beyond your area at the moment,
which is what, 5 kilometers, right?
Some shit like that.
Yeah, it's a 5 kilometer radius.
You're putting everyone at considerable risk. You know what the most relevant thing that just consistently is relevant in societies is? I posted this when people were posting the squares and telling you to post the squares, but it's the Kramer when he doesn't want to wear the ribbon.
Yeah.
So the Seinfeld episode, Kramer, he's at the AIDS walk, and they go, you're not going to wear the ribbon?
Yeah.
He goes, no, I don't wear the ribbon. He goes,
who won't wear the ribbon?
Who won't wear the... Yeah, he goes, I'm walking, ain't I? And then they go, he doesn't want to wear the ribbon? Well, we just have to teach him to wear the... You do it, I can't.
Yeah. Then we just have to teach him to wear the ribbon.
Yeah,
who will not wear the ribbon?
Yeah, but it's everything is that. He does not want to get the vaccine. We just have to teach him to get the vaccine. Everything in the last 10 years that mattered is some version of that one Seinfeld skit where the one guy doesn't wear the ribbon.
Yeah.
You don't want to conform, bud?
Bud? Well, then we're going to have to fucking get you to conform.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I mean, the Australia thing is insane. I don't know if anywhere, like, you even see the stuff where they go in China and you go, man, China's like fucking pretty cash compared to Australia.
I know.
Like, I don't even understand what, like, because they're an island, they go, look, like, because we're an island, we can actually, like, get this to zero. Because you're like, you're never going to get this to zero if you ever let people in the country. Like,
I know.
So and what, just every time one, like, I mean, New Zealand, they had one case and they shut down everything for a literal single case. And they go, well, once that person's, but you're like, I don't know.
Do not want to wear the ribbon. So this is something that's been going on. Now back to the when you go, all of this stuff's going on over there, and this is what's going on in Hollywood, my friend. So this article that someone sent me is probably is one of my favorites in a while, because it's one of, you know, when the saying the quiet part out loud.
Uh-huh.
So I've been saying this forever, that in comedy, all of these rules make it hard, because if you're making something, like all of the stuff where you go, you can't portray these people a certain way, but also you need to put them in your thing. So it's like, it makes it difficult, because you don't want to make like it's the same thing where they don't want the Chinese people to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like if you put a girl in a thing, it's like, you can't just make her like a stupid mess. Like you have to make her positive. So in comedy, most of the things I'm doing, you're making fun of the people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if you're playing a character that's a loser, and it's like, well, you don't want you to portray like a gay guy as like this like cliche annoyance, but it's like in comedy, everyone's a bit of a cliche, because that's kind of
that's the deal. Yeah,
archetypes.
Yeah, exactly. Archetypes,
Probably a more reasonable way to call them. But the Vulture did this article, and they go, TV's white guys are in crisis. What to do with white men? So
kill them. I mean, just if you kill them, that would be a problem solved.
That's the first option I thought of, because I've been sort of waiting in the corner.
By the way, I hate white men.
I want to say that I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, I hate them
on the podcast
Disgusting.
too, and that's a brave stance too, because you're gonna get in trouble for it. You know what I mean?
I know.
The trolls are gonna get you.
The trolls are gonna come after me, but I hate them.
But just the like arrogance of these people that work at like Vulture, for example, to be like, hey, you know, we're going to be here being like, we await your decision for what to do with us. Oh, please, please, please. Oh, I hope it's good.
Yeah, I hope.
Like the same way that Afghanistan people, the you know, people that work for the government are like, what's going to happen to us? That should be me and you being like, what is Vulture going to do with us?
Yeah, it's basically like the, you know, an old animal thing where they go, we're going to take you to the farm where you're going to live out the rest of your days, frolic.
The podcast farm.
Yeah, the podcast farm.
We already solved this. They go, what do we do with white men? I go, Vulture. Send them to the podcast. Put them in a mic. They go, listen,
podcast gulag.
You can't be in TV anymore, John Krasinski. But what you can do is, shh. See this? Here's a microphone. This is what we call an H6.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Okay, is anyone going to visit me? Yeah. Once a week, someone's going to come visit you, and you're going to talk to them for an hour and a half, John Krasinski.
Yeah. Who is the one who had from The Office? Kevin, who had the podcast? Where
Kevin.
That's basically, Kevin is like the classic. You know?
He's basically Milton from Office Space, where they go, but you go to the basement now.
He goes, but I was one of the leads on one of the biggest shows of all time. They go, yeah, that's good, Kevin. That's
Great,
good.
yeah.
That's great. Here's an H4. Here's some microphones. Just go. We're gonna put you in the corner in the basement of the NBC studios, and you just podcast to your heart's content. Do you know what an RSS feed is? You're gonna want to learn what that is.
Yeah. That's exactly what
I
they're
was
doing.
the star of a hit TV show.
but my Oscar.
Oh no! Oscar's not coming.
Emmy?
No, Oscar's diverse. He's gonna get some.
Oh, Oscar's
He's gonna be on
working.
some commercials. Yeah. This is just a you thing.
But it's almost like they're so in their, this is like a peak in your bubble conversation. You know what I mean? So they go, this summer, television became preoccupied with the question, what should happen to white men? So they're in the meeting, you know what I mean? Imagine being a white man in that meeting with...
Yeah, you go, ooh, yeah.
I mean, I kind of have been a white man in
For
that
sure.
meeting. When I was doing stuff before, I've been at actually plenty of meetings where it's like, what do we do with the fact that you're white? And you're like, I am so sorry.
I go, oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to be white anymore.
I can cut off my dick. And they go, that actually will do it. I go, I'm not doing that.
What if I just the balls?
What if I just
What if I just do the balls? I don't want to be white.
What if I just got the balls off? So they're in this meeting and they go, Not all men. TV has been inundated with stories about black. So it's not all men. They're saying, there's lots of good men.
Whoa. TV hasn't been inundated. They're just catching up. Don't say inundated.
I didn't like inundated.
That's fucked
either.
up, dude.
So they go, the stories of black men, migrant men, trans men, men who struggle to make ends meet, and holding it down with the 3 gigs in the, 3 gigs in the gig economy. One conundrum kept cropping up in various genres and iterations. The white guys who used to be the default protagonists are no longer the main characters. So what happens to them now? Should he be erased? Can he be rehabilitated? His entitlement washed away. Where's he supposed to go? So what do you think, Daniel? Can our entitlement be washed away? Can we be cleansed?
I think some sort
cleansed of the entitlement.
Some sort of like re-education.
I think the only
it's a camp.
possibility-
It's a camp situation.
It has to be a camp.
Camp re-education
For
You
white
go there-
actors
Yeah,
to
so
be-
camp. You go. You wear they shave your head.
Yeah.
They delouse you. Then you put on like matching jumpsuits, and you just you basically just break rocks.
I can't see it happening any other way.
No.
You get cleansed and re-educated.
Yeah.
So they said, series from this summer who have found various answers to that question. Perhaps the white guy has a meltdown. This is where I was like fucking dying. They're like, what kind of things happen? They go, maybe the white guy, we can have a white guy in, but he's like just a total fucking psycho. Ah!
Yeah. He's got to be.
So you can potentially you can have a white guy in your thing, but he has a meltdown.
Yeah.
So that's one option.
By the way, can we just talk about the fact that just in this vein where it's so funny where after 9/11, every like good guy was white and every bad guy was brown, and now like literally every bad guy's white and every good guy's brown. Like they just straight up they go, yeah, we went overboard.
That wasn't
with that.
before that there was lots of action stars that were like action stars was a pretty diverse field.
Action somewhat.
Well, my favorites were always like I was a huge I liked always Will Smith, Wesley Snipes.
Sure.
But there was
But I'm saying outside of like
I
the
know what
few
you
black
mean.
guys, and then there were the rest of the
yeah,
world.
that's why they replaced. At first, they replaced
And then Jackie Chan.
They replaced those. Well, they replaced the brown bad guys with Russian bad guys.
They made every bad guy Russian, and then
Well, they've actually been going through this. They're like, can they be bad guys? That's a big question for them. They go, or
they won't even let white people be bad guys.
That's
even that
they're
discussion
wondering.
is coming up.
Well, they're wondering if they could be bad guys.
All I'm telling you is if you're a white actor right now, really spend all your time working on that fucking Eastern European accent because you're going to want that.
That'll help.
You're going to want to be able to do that.
They go, so maybe he has a meltdown or he leans into his right to take up space. Maybe the best course of action is for his plot to demise. So maybe you're allowed to have a white guy as long as it's like...
Yeah, you're a white guy as long as in every scene you're reading a Jordan Peterson book.
you're getting your just desserts,
Yeah.
I think. Like your life falls apart, being white, you show that you're being a bad white guy, being a bad white doesn't pay.
No.
So maybe the white character comes in, he drinks and drives, and after a series of microaggressions, he gets fired from his job, which is what should have happened in the first scene.
Yep.
But it still took a while. So that's an option. Potentially has a meltdown. Potentially he dies. Maybe.
I mean,
His life
dying
falls
is
apart.
ideal.
Dying's the first choice for me.
Yeah, just you kill them off, and then, or they just die in real life, and then it's like they die in real life, and
Oh,
then
yes,
on
two
the show
problem
they just
solved.
replace them with like a POC, and then problem solved.
What if you made them crappy podcasters in the movies? Like, you know what I mean?
Like
white guys are only allowed to be podcasters.
Yeah. Just in the show, but what happens if that show becomes successful though, and then as like
That's
a
a
kind of
problem. That's gonna be a
negative
problem.
benefit or a negative consequence is that person becomes famous in real life.
That's a huge
playing
problem.
the loser podcast,
And then afterwards, you're going to be offering them other roles. that
yeah,
they might
exactly.
go in.
Imagine that person like actually has some success, and then
So I'm a no
kinda
on that now.
Yeah, that's a no.
Although many of the shows include white people of color on the directing staff or in the writer's room, they were all created and co-created by white producers. And it's tempting to see them use their own self-concern at work in the movies. So one of the problems is there's still some white stink because like some of the higher ups are white. You know what I mean? Like there's white producers and stuff like that. So they can't really get all the stink off. Even if it's all diverse people writing and making it, there's still producers.
You know what's
in there,
so
like,
funny, actually?
squeaking in their whiteness.
And the way you're saying this too is like, I'm like, because there was this whole thing in Hollywood, like 50 years ago, where all the Jews changed their names to white sounding names, and now
Yeah.
they're all gonna be like, yeah, I guess it's time to change the name back.
Yeah, John Stewart.
Like,
is like,
Jon Stewart's
John Luzabitz.
Yeah, Leibowitz. Like literally, all these people are like, well, I guess it's time. Like mostly like executives and producers go, like they maybe change their name to something, and they go, yeah, it's time to change the name back.
Well, we have a friend that did that, but they
Yeah.
go, so they go, after all, most of the shows simply jettison the white guy. They hold him close. They observe him, mock him, and jab at him mercilessly. So that's what they want, I guess. Even as he becomes the story's central problem, the bad guy, rather than the central character, there he is, still in the middle of the narrative. So even if you make him the villain, as you were saying before, okay, maybe you could just be the Russian villain. Well, no, because you're still fucking taking up space.
Oh, I hate people who take up space.
Sorry, Russian villains.
Worst.
It is time for me to start podcast also.
I will also start podcast.
This is a Russian cast. So they need more diversity in villains So, and they go, now they give you some ideas for shows that do it right. So in another era of TV, Rutherford Falls, the show's title is the name of the town. And then the characters are Nathan and Reagan. But while Reagan is the obvious protagonist, and that person is a person of color, Rutherford Falls is about an American Indian deciding to take back what should belong to her tribe. But it can't stop wondering what should happen to the guy whose family stole it in the first place. So if you're
Skin them alive?
Well, that's the thing, but they're saying the question in the TV show. So they're saying, well, maybe a white guy can be in the show, but he's like a douchebag imperialist, and we're constantly talking about that.
Yeah. That's the only option, really.
Well, they're not sure. They're saying, they're working it out too, whether or not he's allowed to play that kind of role. So in June, there was a show called Kevin Can Fuck Himself. The series excavates in buried assumptions of the network sitcoms like King of Queens and According to Jim, where there's just like a woman and there's a zany husband who's schlubby and he scrapes by and faces no consequences. Whereas in this, Allison is the archetypal sitcom wife, has her own motives and desires and frustrations. Even then, all she can think is, what the fuck should I do about Kevin? So basically, they have a similar thing as before, except she's about to leave him the entire series. So you're maybe allowed to have like a schlubby husband as long as the wife's like constantly about to leave him, and that's sort of the narrative.
That's just so he has that kind of hanging over him.
He has that hanging out over him. Like being
it's
white
not going
pay.
great for him. You don't want to make it seem like that's...
Well, you let him know, like, this doesn't pay all this being white business that you're doing.
Yeah. I might leave you at any moment for someone who's not white.
Yeah.
You think it's always it's always like a not white person that she's about to leave you for?
Of course.
Yeah.
That would be ideal, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a potential thing, is that you have the girl. So he's in the thing. They're living under the same roof. But she probably makes more money. She's more successful and brave. But you're constantly sort of griping with the question, like, how can I be with this stupid piece of shit white bitch?
Piece of shit.
Yeah.
Stupid white piece of shit.
Yeah.
And it's tough. I mean...
It's
not
a tough
when you know
question.
you can guaranteed trade up to something better.
I once again want to say that potentially, even in that series, I'd like to see that guy start a podcast. I think
that's the nail in the coffin for her. And she goes, "Oh, you're podcasting now."
That's the news. Yeah, that's
much.
the news. The new thing. It's like instead of your husband being like Kevin James, it's Kevin James, but he's in my podcast. And then she goes, "Look at this imperialist colonizing the man cave, colonizing my woman cave
my
with
woman
this
cave.
podcast." So the latest show that they like what they've done, Netflix is The Chair, an academic dramedy about an English professor, Ji Yoon Kim, so I like it already, who ascends to the position of department chair. The main guy, the guy whose problems we care about, the guy who used to be the show's dominant point of view, becomes a hurdle to overcome. So he's not necessarily the bad guy in the sense that he's like the antagonist.
He's not the classic villain.
But he's just there being annoying and a problem.
Sure.
And I honestly think that in addition to the idea that we're saying he's like a metaphorical hurdle, I'd like to see a show about a female track star where you actually make the white men be the actual hurdles.
Like literally, he's basically like in this meta way. He's not playing a character. He's playing whiteness.
He's playing
and
whiteness
the
in a
patriarchy.
meta way, yeah.
Like that's who he is. He's playing these things.
So he's sort of representative of that, hypothetically, but he's also the physical representation of that, and that he is doing a forward bridge, and he becomes the hurdles for girls to jump over, representing what their normal life every day basically is like. So he said, problem is, we used to like this guy so much. He was our Beaver Cleaver, our Tim Allen. And respect to the OGs, Tim Allen, Don Draper, Michael Scott. We can't just throw him out and relegate him to status of reoccurring minor guest star, but he no longer fits. His privilege feels outsized. As a protagonist, it doesn't spark the same joy that it used to. So she can't just watch The Office. Well, he has this outsized privilege, and she wasn't aware of that.
Well,
when
she
liked
literally
The Office
sees it.
originally.
Well, the whole thing with The Office, too, is you're like, Michael Scott's like inept, right? So then you're like, oh, he really only got this job because he's a white man. Like, you can't really, in this framework, watch The Office.
Yeah.
Because you're like, you straight up, you go, this should be a black
piece of shit.
woman.
You just watch The Office now, seething. Well, it's
Seething.
an outshined privilege, right? She just...
Yeah.
So it's a question to grapple with. And she says, there is honesty to the choice to keep the dethroned main guy around. If he doesn't disappear in real life, unfortunately, he's still there. So tied to the live. So they are grappling with this question. So we might get to be around a little. And they said Jason Sudeikis, who played like
Ted Lasso?
They liked a character that he played because he was there to sort of prop up women. And so as long as the guy's propped up women, he's a villain, but not in a way that sort of takes away from the storyline where we're focused on this guy. Other than that, I think the real answer is podcasting, and I'm just going to do a bit of spitballing here on my own.
Okay.
So, because we know you're familiar with the hero's journey in
Yes,
filmmaking,
very much so, yeah.
and structure and character archetypes, right? So I've been thinking that obviously we're going to be needing to do some reshaping for 2021. So instead of the wacky neighbor, what if we did like the racist neighbor? So we don't have like
not too racist, like not like Gran Torino.
Well, I mean, he already is racist because he's white.
But, oh, okay. Oh, right. That's what. Yeah, but he's not like overtly.
He's
racist.
not like
he's not like
throwing rice at her.
No, like fucking like cross burning on and stuff like that.
No, but he was just like his microaggressions are racist.
Well, yeah, a lot
and
of
he sort of
microaggressions.
learns a lesson by the end of the series. On the season finale, he finally realizes his
When he
ways.
kills himself?
Kills himself.
Yeah.
So the mentor is a common literary device, right? So what if the mentor is allowed to be a white man? But
I don't like it.
Well, hear me out. So the mentor, which would be like, Gandalf and the Wizard,
Yeah.
and the Lord of the Rings, right? So the woman protagonist in this situation goes to Gandalf, the man, and he gives her advice, but she actually knew better all along, and he was wrong.
He was mansplaining.
He was
She
mansplaining.
Gandalf's mansplaining.
The mentor's mansplaining.
All right, here we go, Gandalf. It's like, I'm just here for fucking...
Right, so he gives her advice, and she's at a crossroads whether to take this old white man's advice or do it, and then she doesn't take it.
She doesn't take it. And then in the next season, she's Gandalf.
And the next
She has his
but
job.
she's also has her job too, because she
Yeah,
can do jobs because she's
Yeah.
powerful.
Like she bites her tongue when Gandalf goes, so where do you see yourself in 5 years? And in her mind, she goes, in your chair.
In your fucking
in your
seat,
chair.
old man, you old white bitch.
Yeah, you old white fucking cracker.
So you're familiar with the trickster, the literary device. The trickster sometimes adds humor to the story, but I think potentially if that was going to be a white man, what could happen is he shows up, I'd like to see him show up around the 40-minute mark, not to take up too much space.
No.
Shows up, tries to add some humor to the storyline, and he is scolded because humor can have cause pain to some of the other characters, and he learns that joking around is no laughing matter.
I like it.
And then he sort of retreats back into things. So that's the new
Let's
role
keep
of
the jokes
trickster.
to white men.
Yeah,
White straight men.
Yeah, so I'd like to
And
see that.
that's about it.
The shapeshifter, are you familiar with that literary device?
No. What's a shapeshifter?
Shapeshifter is the character that decides he seems like he's going to be an ally at the beginning and then switches to an evil person or vice versa. So instead of the shapeshifter being someone that's an ally that switches, what it is just someone that switches to trans permanently and is applauded for it.
That's a good one. You can't go wrong with that one.
Right?
Just if every episode just a new person's trans. But here's a wrinkle in that. Okay, so as for more of this is a casting thing, you get an actual trans person and be like, just
That's a tough
for
one.
episode 1, we're gonna make you look like your former self.
I think what you do is you go. I think that's the first option, but the second option is
Because you can't have a straight white guy playing a trans
but
person.
you're looking at this backwards, and you're looking at this in a way where you go, oh, we have to cast based on talent, like if someone who's good at acting, for example. I say you go down to the clinic where people are about to get the trans surgery, and you say, hey, which one of you guys wants to be in a movie?
Whoa,
you film the first.
guys.
Well, they're guys at this point before they're getting the surgery,
got it.
and then you go, hey, does anyone here want to be in a movie? and then they film the first half.
Yeah, and
then they get the surgery.
And then they wrap. They go, okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna 6 months of wrapping.
So every time they do a shapeshifter, you work around their schedule when they are ready and feeling better.
Honestly, seems like a logistical nightmare, but worth it.
Well, sometimes
worth it. I mean, it's worth
progress
it.
takes
it's worth
effort,
it. You
right?
know, it might cost, but whatever.
Yeah, so the progress takes effort. And the shadow self, I think that's one where I kind of more on your line of thinking, where I think we just have to get rid of that altogether because there is no bad side of female protagonists.
No. Not. Just the more the merrier, really.
Yes. So
Ideally not white.
that's a guarantee.
Yeah.
Taking a quick break here to our next sponsor, which is Butcher Box, which sent us a boatload of
Holy
meat.
shit, dude. If people are asking why I've been sweating so much, it's from fucking all the meat
I've been
eating.
cranking through steaks.
You've been making steaks? This is the thing. Ryan's not much of a cook, so you've been
buddy,
forced to.
I've been getting into
Dude,
it.
I've been eating so much fucking
I haven't been
chicken.
cooking them personally, my friend.
Oh,
My
no, yeah,
friend.
yeah,
Come
yeah.
on.
I was gonna say,
Get
dude,
your
you know,
household in order.
go get a good cast iron pan. It'll change the game.
Butcher Box is nice, dude. And if you're having a barbecue or
Amazing,
anything,
dude. The food's so good.
it's solid. Soak up the last moments of summer with Butcher Box. Maybe getting together with friends, family, haven't seen them in forever, spending time doing what you might have missed out last year. No matter what, the last thing you should stress about is cooking. It's a big box.
It is a big box.
Nice cuts too. And you get to pick what you get. Options like 100% grass-fed and finished beef, free-range, organic, chicken, humanely raised pork, wild-caught lobster tails, wild-caught Alaskan salmon, and sugar nitrate-free bacon. And
You getting the lobster yet?
no, I didn't do any
I'm
lobster
gonna
because
do
I don't know
that.
how to cook that.
Yeah. I think you can grill it or just oven.
Each box is 9 to 11 pounds of fresh meat, and every pair of Danny's boxers currently has 9 to 11 milligrams of stale meat. Okay.
Okay.
Folks. Luckily today, we want you to celebrate the rest of summer right. Treat yourself and receive a special offer from Butcher Box. When new members sign up, Butcher Box will get you a free chicken, burgers, and hot dogs in your first box.
yeah.
They're laying it down. I don't think I got any dogs in my box.
No, I
yet.
think we can get dogs, but I have like literally 2 entire chickens in my freezer right now.
Yeah. And so Butcher Box is doing that. The process is simple. Once you signed up and choose your box and delivery frequency, they offer 5 boxes, 4 curated box options, as well as the popular custom box. So you get exactly what you and your family love. So Butcher Box wants you to enjoy the rest of the summer with this special deal. So the deal is Butcher Box is giving the Boyscast listeners a special offer of 3 pounds of chicken breast, 2 pounds of burgers, and 1 pound of hot dogs for free. Right now, new members can sign up and get this special deal when they sign up at butcherbox.com/theboyscast. That's butcherbox.com/theboyscast for free chicken, burgers, and hot dogs in your first box. Woo! So you know my friend Gary, right?
Yep.
So I have this friend that when we were touring in the band and we were like 20, this guy was like 40 and he would tour with us. He would do merch and sell the stuff and he's a maniac. He would bring I remember he brought his son on tour who was like 18 and I remember his son sitting in the van at one point and he goes, Dad, can I drink anything other than beer? And then he was like, I want to get some money for something like blah, blah. And his dad goes, I just gave you $10. He goes, well, you just spent $40. And he goes, you know, beer doesn't count. This is the kind of conversations he's had. Gary was phenomenal, right? But so even better, this guy's sending me messages. We have a group chat with all the old guys, right? He's sending these messages. Let me just show you this. This guy he just decided he broke up with his chick a bit ago.
Yeah.
Who was like 15 years, 20 years younger than him. And now he's been living in a tent and sending me these videos. Look at this.
What's up? You know what I'm saying? Here in the 10 days. Number 13, motherfuckers. Whoop whoop. What's not going on in New York there? Happy birthday, boy. What's up, our note? Yo, cheers, boys. Day 14 in the tent. We got like the party coming out. Some beers, you know what I'm saying?
You know, tell him to fucking start a TikTok. You know how many people I just see on TikTok being
yeah.
like, yo, I live in a tent. And people are like, oh, I fucking love
That's
this
a good
guy.
idea.
Tell him to start a
I'll
TikTok.
Dude, Gary's he's 55 years old now. He
seems pretty chipper.
He has
about
a house, and he just moved outside of his house to go live in a yard in a tent.
What do you mean he has a house?
I don't.
Doesn't sound like
Him
actions
and
of
like a
somebody-
bunch of people like own a part of this like shithole in Brantford, Ontario.
Okay. And then what? He lost his slice?
I don't know. I don't ask questions. He sends me updates being like, still in the tent. It's been 3 weeks. Got the beers. Everything's Irie. He loves talking a Jamaican accent.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But we're all like, good shit, dude.
Yeah, sick, man.
Funny. He's so funny. Okay, there's this, the last article for this podcast is an article that says, no woman should ever have to have maintenance sex with her husband. So what do you think about that? And this is by independent.uk.
I love the term. I just love the term.
They're trying to make that a thing.
maintenance sex.
Yeah, they're
like,
trying
what
to
is that? Is that the sex in between the essential sex? Like, there's like a certain amount of sex that's essential.
Yeah.
And then we go everything in between that's just maintenance, or is just all sex maintenance sex?
I thought maintenance sex was when you watch your wife having sex with the maintenance guy. So the maintenance guy comes in to fix things.
He just rails her.
So I think my guess is they're going to be in this article like, hey, it is not our duty to fuck the maintenance guy while you watch.
Yeah. Don't make us do this emotional labor.
But they...
By the way, I love one thing I'm going to say I like about The Independent, which I have a gripe with so many of these articles, is I like that they put a picture of the person who writes the article.
I like to see that.
Because honestly,
too.
I really...
adds to the
50% of the time, we have these... not even every time. We have these articles and I go, I want to see a picture
You'd
of
love
who's
to see
writing
what they
this.
look like so you can finish.
Just so you have an idea of what you're...
Or
messing with.
maintenance sex can be when you get sex in return from fixing something.
No, because wouldn't you love
I'd
it?
be celibate.
Wouldn't you love it if you know, he goes, no woman should ever have maintenance sex with her husband, and it's a dude with just like Oakley's backwards hat. And you go, interesting. All right. A different article.
Yeah, he looks like Eminem.
Yeah, you know, he's like Eminem. He goes, no dude should ever have to have no woman should ever. And you go, okay, interesting take.
Yeah. Well, what they're saying is basically when girls have sex with a dude just because they have to, just to keep him happy. All of these like articles like, just don't ever understand that they refuse to. They can't look into anything other than like oppressor, oppressee.
Yeah.
Like everything to them is, it's kind of like a lot of the kids that are, they're like children that still, everything is their dad's fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It kind of is this thing where it's like, why can't I have more money? You know what I mean? It's like, well, yeah, whatever deal you make. Like if you are in a relationship with a guy and you're like, I never want to have sex with him. It's like, okay, well, is he completely fine with that? If not, then that might be a problem.
Sure.
It's like the idea that like you should never ever have to do anything. That's like you could literally say that about anything. It's like men should never have to go to your friend's house but like yeah, but sometimes you do things that you don't want to do in in any friendship or relationship. Or, you know what I mean?
Also, can you
Why do I have to go to school, Mom?
Can a guy take this article to his like wife, who his wife is the one who's demanding sex?
No one
and be
should
like,
ever have to do anything ever.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, we've made that point before, but it's
I'm saying, like,
how many times
is
have
she
you never
saying
had
this
sex when you didn't want to?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
called church.
yeah. They just bent you over.
It's called church, pal. No, but it's like
Yeah, initiation to the Taliban.
Every relationship I've ever been to, I've usually like it's a lot of times it's the opposite, where it's like it's the girl who is the one who's
Oh, she's with you though. I can't
Yeah, of
imagine.
course.
I mean, this is just
they
we're
want-
talking
they
about
want-
we're talking
yeah.
about human men here.
I mean, I guess I'm putting down performances. Obviously, they gotta.
Oh, of course. They don't just
Maintenance
want
sex.
it; they crave it. It's
There you go. Get that
it's a
maintenance guy over here.
It's a sick addiction for Danish chicks. It becomes all encompassing. She goes, I can't work. I can't sleep. You go, we had sex this morning. But that to me is like all of this stuff is very, it's like, you're right. You shouldn't, if your relationship is 3 times a day, you having sex, when you didn't want to, yeah, it doesn't sound that fun. You might have some problems.
Yep.
But if like, you know, if I'm dating a chick, this is how I always feel. If I feel like I have to have sex when I was like really tired, and you're doing stuff, like even like the smallest thing, tidied up a little bit, dinner, anything, any little thing, I go, yeah, but she did that.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what? I'm tired, but yeah, but she did that. Anything. Literally, it could be, organized, whatever,
Yeah.
right? But if you're in a relationship and you go, this person is like, doesn't do anything. And then on top of that, they're like, pleasure me.
Slave, pleasure me. Rings the bell, like literally
Yeah.
just in her bell, like Jabba the Hutt, just like ding, ding, ding. Ah, God.
Just a fat pig. That's so funny. I would love. Do you think there's any guys that like to be slaves where they're just
Fuck yeah.
They're in the bed. They're pig of a wife's just in a bed. Ding 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 ding.
Not a pig to them. She's a
And he
fucking
has to come
she's
in.
a queen to them.
He comes in. She goes, "What is this?" She goes, I asked you to come in here erect. I don't want to be part of the fluffing procedure.
No, what's the craziest is those. You see those photos on like Twitter and Instagram and stuff where it's like some guy in like the mall and he's like on a leash and is like some girl's just like walking him like a dog.
Yeah. That
And
guy
you're like,
once.
God damn it, that's.
Have you ever done a thing where you like watch like a porn or something like that, or like cruise like a Reddit with like hot chicks like to get jazzed up and then fuck your chick?
A cruiser Reddit? No.
Well, there's like, but sometimes honestly, that's been
mean,
a
I've
move for me a little bit in the past where you're just like, maybe I'm on the mood. Then you kind of look at a few things. You go,
All right. Yeah.
you kicking here.
Yeah. We just fired up the engines.
Yeah. It doesn't take much to get
we
the
got
split
lift
switched. It's a lot of things are like that in life where you go, I don't want to go to the gym. Once you're at the gym, you go, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm here now.
I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, what am I not going to work out?
The very idea of maintenance sex is based on the heteronormative idea of relationships where male sexuality is epitomized by a higher sex drive than women, where their impulses are beyond control. Also, it is kind of funny because you're like, well, if that wasn't the case, where on average men maybe wanted it a little more, then this wouldn't probably be a problem, would it?
Yeah.
It's like, why are there like, oh, girls have to have maintenance sex? It's like, well, why do you think that is?
I mean, first off, can we just get rid of this lie that men want sex more? I don't know
No.
where this started.
It is true. So I've been over this. This is the case. Men do want sex more. It's just that girls are happier having sex with the same guy. So a lot of times guys are like, ugh.
I'm saying in a relationship or whatever, where it's like the guy is.
Guys need to clean the pipes out a little more than girls. Like if guys and girls both just nothing, no masturbation, no sex, no anything, the guy's a little more like,
He's
that's
chomping
all,
at the bit.
that's all they mean,
That's
right?
true, yeah.
So the guy's a little more like, So I think that's where that comes from. But I think that men are a pretty stubborn, where a lot of men will be like, you'll go on a sex drink.
Base Fauci, what do you think about this?
Base Fauci, like,
Base Fauci's like, I fuck my wife 7 times a day. She only gets it when I give it to her. All right.
Oh, okay, there you go.
cool.
Base Fauci, yeah.
Do you, what about sex before marriage? None of that.
None of that. Part of the, yeah. So as you go, the model that they recently advised women to lie. The model Caprice Boré is what they're talking about. She was in this movie and stuff like that. And they go, she advised women to lie back and have 5 minutes of regular sex to keep relationships going, even when you are not in the mood. So that would be my favorite type
Just
of sex.
become a fleshlight.
There you go.
Just turn yourself into a living fleshlight.
Well, my problem is this girl says she wants you to have sex for 5 minutes, even if you're not in the mood. I go, well, what about the fact that they should have sex for 5 minutes, even when you are in the mood? Patrice, you're almost there. Caprice, beret. Yeah, you're right. You're halfway there when you go, ladies, you just should have sex for 5 minutes. When you get we'll take it from here, Caprice. And then she said, women shouldn't say I'm tired or I have a headache, but instead take one for the team because it's between 5 and 10 minutes of your life. 10 minutes?
My word.
My word, Catrice. I'm like a pit stop crew. No, that she runs in.
Yeah.
My, yeah. I can operate sex. That, you know, our friend Paul has that joke where it's like anytime your girl, you go, she's in a hurry and you go, I'll make it quick. Go as quick as you can, because then she'll know next time you have sex, like for, you know, if you have sex for 10 minutes, you go, well, you know that was for you.
Yeah.
Because you saw what I could do.
Yeah, you're like, I could do this in 45 seconds.
That's what the girl, I go, just come in here. She comes in there. I go, on your way. Get her out to we get her out to work. Here she comes. Here. You had sex with your wife like a pit stop girl. You roll her in on the dolly.
On the dolly. Go. Kick her out.
Off to work. She's like, what? What are you going? Well, we got to get going. And then you click your timer. All right, boys.
Record time, boys. Keep it up.
Keep up the good work. Such advice is targeted always at women, but never at men. I mean, I think that's a lot of, there's no shortage of articles being like, men need to please their women. Can you believe this? Where they're saying that there's never any advice targeted at men to say that she needs 100 orgasms.
Yeah.
This reinforces the idea that women's sexuality or desire is never placed on par with that of a man's desire. Maybe in 1920.
I was going to say, I'm like, this sounds like so outdated. Like nobody is.
Yeah, she's responding to bullshit that doesn't exist now.
Yeah, you're literally like, yeah, you have the complaints of women in the 70s.
Yeah. This notion of women and men's sexuality and sex drive is an inherent biological difference, and that women's their whole argument is always like, there's no differences, period. It's like there are differences, obviously. They just depends how they manifest. Like, you know, if a girl gets into a groove where she wants it every day, and you're kind of like, and then you have a bad thing, or you want to get on the same page to some degree. And that women's role is to lie back and be passive, while men is the go-getters, is also seeped into our medical and biological textbooks. And it's like, if everyone is exactly the same, then you probably wouldn't have this problem. But they're saying like, well, no, the issue is it's because we were taught this stuff, which is kind of what I always say. I
mean, again, I've never heard of this term maintenance sex. We're both in our 30s. Neither of us have ever heard of this.
Well, they say the way that we are taught about fertilization sets up the idea that sperm is about the knight in shining armor. Did you remember that in school where they said the sperm is
the knight in shining armor?
Well, that's why when I'm having sex, if I'm about to finish, what I do is I always hum dun 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 bum 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 bum.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, because I let her know that there's a hero.
The heroes. You're about to go on a hero's journey, baby. That was only 45 seconds.
But there's a hero lies in me. That's what, I make her to sing that part because there's the sperm's the hero.
Right as you finish, you go, sing the song.
The song, she goes, there's a hero lies in me. I can't be your. We knew a guy in university named You Hero, and we'd always go, I can't be you hero, baby.
He goes, I'm gonna go.
So they said, well, the egg is the damsel in distress. So I definitely wasn't taught that. But the imbalance in treatment with not enough discussion of female infertility and sexual arousal also creates the impression that male reproductive system is more complex and interesting. I mean, not to finish, it isn't. No. It's more complex. Who is taught that? And these people are so out of line.
That's the thing. It's like, it's just...
Here are the sections in textbooks in male sexual arousal since erection.
Yeah, because everybody fucking reads textbooks about sexual arousal instead of just figuring it out.
But there's almost no mention of the female sexual arousal. Well, obviously, because they're not teaching you sex, they're teaching her how babies are made.
Does this chick live in Afghanistan or something? Like, is this like, she's like, this seems like something the Taliban would fucking print.
But even that one, there is also the other thing where she goes, well, there's no, they're not teaching us about female orgasms. It's like, well, because they're not teaching you about pleasuring during sex. They're teaching you about how babies are made.
Yeah, it's like reproduction. This is honestly seems like a Taliban thing.
And they're trying to say the male orgasm is discussed where the female orgasm isn't, even though it has been debunked that females aren't more likely to get pregnant when they have an orgasm. So they're trying to say, is that true?
I never even heard of that.
because she's trying to say it's like real that there is no value of transporting the sperm for when women are having orgasms. If anything, you'd think if the girls were having an orgasm, it would push the sperm out.
No, the reason why
maybe it's creating a river for them with all the stuff coming out.
with all the stuff, maybe the way
and the undertow. So what happens is girls squirt, and then the undertow brings.
I mean, in my personal
sperm.
experience, whenever you give it to them good and they start squirting everywhere, your cum's just getting shot back in your face. So it's like at that point, I don't see how you could possibly have an orgasm. How could they have a kid when I'm just getting covered in my own cum?
Well, that's what you do. Danny does. He fucking comes in the girl and then makes her squirt.
Yeah, she goes, and I'm like front row of a Gallagher show. Just like,
oh my God. Well, these ideas trap women into believing they should always have a lower sex drive than men. It also, what's your argument is that they should have a lower sex drive? Wouldn't it be the opposite where it's like, she's saying that like, we're trapped in this idea that we should have a lower sex drive. Also, our husbands want us to have sex too much. It also traps men into believing that sex is, for them, is devoid of intimacy. It's like, this is just, a lot of these are like, a girl's in a bad relationship. And then they write an article being like, I've been doing that joke about, I won't say it here, actually, it's going to come out in the special that I'm going to record, but there's this idea that people go, oh, you know how men do this? And it was like, no, this sounds like a guy.
yeah.
You go, your specific situation where you go, yeah, I was dating a guy and he wanted me to have sex more than I want to. It's like, so men need to change that.
I mean, guys, we did a thing about a chick who was like wanted to leave a guy because he didn't want to have sex with her. It's like look, if you have a super high sex drive, you need your partner.
We literally did the opposite.
We did the opposite of this. You go, look, you need to match that up. Like you need to match up your political beliefs or whatever. Like that is just another thing that you have to be like on the same page about.
100%. And we got lots more coming at you this week at patreon.com/theboyscast, where things have been growing, but I really want to get to 1,000 true fans. That's the goal of mine, and it's getting very close. So anyone who subscribed, right now there's a backlog of all sorts of episodes, and eventually
tons of shit.
Eventually we are gonna have just the whole catalog there, and the latest 40 or 50 or something like that available. But if anyone wants to sign up, there's a whole bunch of episodes there. We answer any questions. I respond to everyone on the Patreon at least once or twice a week. I check them all and respond to all those emails. Yeah, I check them all too. And yeah, we respond, and then we got people, we respond to all the comments and stuff like that. So patreon.com/theboyscast for an extra episode every week. And this has been The Boyscast.
Peace.